Okay, while we are waiting for Joseph, there's something I've noticed. I just wanted to okay, Joseph is back. Welcome back.
Hi Esther. Hi Esther. Hi Esther. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So I just like I said, I try to restart my system, but before I restarted my system, I restarted my head, and it seems like I'm back to the class today. today. I'm back to the class today. So yeah, my head is functional. I drank some water, so I'm fully back. I'm fully back. Just needed a little bit of break. I've been having some sleepless nights. So right now, the reason why it wasn't working, the function was working basically, but the reason why it wasn't working was I was trying to reference it in quotation. For the filter function, you have to reference a cell or something basically. So right now, just to filter, I select the I select the array which I'm interested in, this array, comma, what do I want to include? I want to include this year column that is equals to 2014, and it works. So it's still the same thing, but the issue was I was trying to type the 2014 in quotation. I was trying to think of it like Power BI in a way, but I just remember, oh, what am I doing? I'm in Excel. So so back to Excel, right? So this works, and if I change this to 2014, we see this as well. If I change this to less than 2014, there's nothing less than 2014, so you have this calculation error. So in Power BI, that could probably work, because in Power BI you don't reference cells itself. So I I've been using Power BI for a while, so I just remembered, oh, I'm in Excel, so what have I doing? I should reference the cell for the filter function. Right. So back to my screen. What did I want to do? I want to filter this data to dates greater than 2014. 2014, right? I'm going to type 2014 here so I don't forget. So this is peculiar to the filter function, though. It's peculiar to the filter function in Excel. You can read up more about the filter function in Excel as well. There's filter in Power BI, which they will take you through that as well. But this filter in Excel, it's always good to remember the two the two you are using correctly. So I'm going to do equals to filter. So I want to filter this entire table. Um, I want to filter this entire table to dates greater than to dates greater than 2014. So the first thing filter asks for you is the array. Filter asks you to provide an array. Filter asks you to provide an array. Then the next thing is, what do you want to include? What do you want to filter? What do you want to I don't know why that came up. Okay. Okay. So equals to filter. You select the array, the entire array you want to filter. So I want to filter this array. Then, comma, the next thing is, what do you want to include? I want to include years greater than 2014. So I'll just select this years, and I'm going to do greater than the greater than symbol. Then I'm going to select 2014. I'm selecting the cell. I'm not manually typing it. Though I could have used indirect. Indirect is another interesting function in Excel you can use for that. But don't worry, I'm not going into indirect. The explanation of indirect is a little bit technical as well. But I have this, and I can hit enter. So was this sure? Oh, in this data, there's nothing greater than 2013, 2014. So that's why I have calc issue. So if I do less than 2014, it populates this. So the function works, the method was working. It's just differentiating. Oh, I'm using Power BI. I'm using Excel, no Power BI. That was the only issue right there initially, but it's working. So filter, all you just need to provide is an array, a table, a list of values you want to filter. Then you provide how you will do the whole filter, what you want to filter, what you want to include, what you don't want to include in your filter argument. So that's how filter in essence works. That's how filter in essence work. So that's using the filter function. Very, very easy, nice and easy to use. Nice and easy to use as well. So the next thing, okay, somebody has their hand up. You can quickly ask a question. Hello. So this is very dynamic. The reason why
Hello,
you may
sorry.
want to use, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask for the filter function. Do you have to type out? Could you have referenced a cell where 2014 was on the table? Do you have to type out 2014
No,
on
no,
the
you can
spreadsheet to
reference
be able
this.
to
Yeah, you
reference?
can reference a cell where 2014 is on the table. So the idea of it was you have to reference a cell for that. You can read up more on it for Excel, basically for Excel. For Power BI, you could just do what I wanted to do before. You could do what I wanted to do before, but for Excel, you should reference a cell which you to use to filter your table. So that was the difference between that. The only thing I adjusted instead of me typing that 2014, 2014. So I can even do equals to 2014 now. It works. So instead of me typing that 2014, I should have just referenced it basically. But yeah, like I said, I drank water and I just remember, oh, what was wrong? Okay, that was what was wrong. And I'm back, I'm fully back in the session. So uh, and I will address that issue which I said I will address later on. I can remember the solution as well. Like I said, a little bit tired, but I'm back. Okay, so Doris' hand is up. Doris' hand is up. I hope I've answered your question. So your question was I could just reference the cell in the table. That works. I can just change this from V1 to this, and it still works. Still works. Still works. So back to the session, basically. So this is using the filter function. Now I can add this, I can use this filter function with other VLOOKUP function, other array functions. But I'll be showing them in part by part, array functions in part by part, basically. So what I've showed filter function, I'm going to show VStack, then I'll show HStack, then I won't show HStack. Is once you know VStack, you basically know HStack. They are the same thing. Then I'll show take. You don't need to really know job too much. You do job in SQL as well. Then choose column. So I was trying to even remember. Probably if I mix choose column with the filter, that would work. But it didn't need that complicated of a solution. So just a simple fix. But choose columns is also easy. So right now I'm going to show VStack. So if we can remember in our Power Query, when we did append, in Power Query, that is essentially what VStack does for you. So remember, we're back. I'm just showing us some things we can do with array functions in Excel. So right now, what I'm going to do, I filter this report to 2014, right? I'll filter this to 2014. This entire data here, right here, is 2014. I can copy it, come to a new sheet. I can come to sheet 3, Control or V value, and I paste it here. I have this for 2014, right? I can create a filter. For 2015. Yeah, 2013. Yeah, I'll call this 2013. 2013, right? And it has filtered the data for 2013. This 2013 data. Yeah. I can copy it. I can paste it in this sheet 4. Can paste it in this sheet 4. Basically, I can paste it in this sheet 4. In this sheet 4. So yeah, this 2013 and this 2014 data. So I'm going to name this 2013, 2014 rather, this 2014. I type 2015, 2014, and this is 2013 data. So imagine this is our business and we are giving this data split into 2013 and 2014 data, 2013 and 2014 data, and we want to combine this table into one spreadsheet. I know Pelumi did it with Park where we're using append. Append, you basically do what I'm going to show you, but with VStack, you can do this. You can do the same process. VStack, what it means is vertical stack. What do you want to stack something vertically upon another thing? That's what VStack is basically. So I'm going to add a new sheet. I'm going to add a new sheet, and I'm going to on this sheet I'm going to do equals to VStack. And the first thing is array. VStack, like I said, if I press Ctrl A to read the function argument box, array, you need to provide it an array. What is an array? An array or a reference to be stacked, basically. Vertically stacks arrays into one array. That's what VStack does. So it stacks arrays into each other. So I'm going to do equals to VStack, and I'm going to select this 2014, this entire 2014. I'm going to select it, comma. Then this 2013, I'm going to select it as well. Then the moment I'm good, I hit enter. If you see on this record stops. This record stops at what? 2013. Very, very nice and easy. That's using VStack. VStack, you can use this with VStack. So I've combined 2014 and 2013 record together to have that single sheet we have there. And all I just did was VStack. I selected the array, the first array for 2014, the second array for 2013, and they are grouped together. So this is using array function. Array function. So this is VStack. So the reason why I'm showing you this is that I can use all these array functions together. I can use I've done a very, very complicated function a long time ago that where I use VStack, AStack, not haystack. I use unique, then I use VStack, I use filter, I use take, and I use choose columns to achieve something. But don't worry, you don't have to do all those unnecessary stuff as I'll term them. But the idea of knowing how each of them work can help you to do other stuff, and you can even go on to create your own function in Excel. I can show that as well, but that would probably be that would take us a long time, so I won't show that. I won't show that you can create your own function in Excel. But back to this VStack, this filter. If you have questions, you can note them down. I'm just showing this as array function. We are still going to go into power pivots majorly as well. So this VStack, this filter, I showed VStack earlier. Then the next thing is I'm going to show you the use of take function. So if I do equals to take, what does take state? Control A, takes returns the rows or column from array start or end. What does this mean? If I want to return the first row in this table, what take we do is you just tell take the number of rows you want to return, and it will provide you with the number of rows you want to return. If you want to return the first one, it will be the first row. If you want to return the second row, it will be the second row. If you want to return the last, that's when you use minus, you use other symbols as well. So let me show how this will work. I'm going to mix take with this filter function which we have here. So take request for an array. This is something very, very important for us to note when you are combining functions, basically. When you are combining functions. So when you are combining functions, this also works with Power BI as well. It works with Excel. I think it's still applicable for SQL as well. So when you are combining functions, you need to note one important thing. One important thing. You need to know the input of one, and you need to know the output of the other one. Are we following? Are we following? Am I still with you? Are we following? Am I still with you?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so you need to know the input of one and the output of the other one. Okay, so once you know the input of the first function and you know the output of the second function, you'll be able to get your desired result. Once you know the input of the first function and you know the output of the second function, you'll be able to get your desired results, right? Once you know those input and output, you'll be able to get your desired results. So right now, the input of the first function, what's the input of the take function? So the first major input of the take function, when I do equals to take, the first input of the take function is what? An array. An array represents list of values, range of values. That's the first input of the take function. That's the first input of the take function. It represents range of value, list of values. That's the first and the major input of the take function is the compulsory argument. Then what's the output of the filter function? By output of the filter function, I mean, what is the end result of the filter function? We have an array. We have an array. So input, output. Take is asking for an array. Take is asking for an array. And filter function, the end result of filter function is what? An array. The end result of filter function is an array. So now you can now see that if take is asking for an array and filter function is giving me an array, I can use take with filter function. Does the logic make sense? Does the logic make sense? Okay. Does the logic make sense? Does the logic make sense? So I'll just show this example, then probably we'll speed run into power pivot. Power pivot as well. So does the logic make sense? Take, what is when I do equals to take what? Returns rows of column from array start or end. So take is asking you to provide it with an array for it to work. And if you press tab, if you remember in one of the classes, I said compulsory arguments have this bold color, right? They have this bold color. Why optional arguments have the other color? That means if your compulsory argument is not passed, your formula or your function will not work. It wouldn't work if you don't fulfill that compulsory argument. Then when we use this filter function to filter for what we just did in this filter function, we filter this entire table for years that are equals to 2013 year. We filter the entire table for years that are equals to 2013. So it's like I just came to this year column and I clicked on this filter button and 2013. The beauty of using this instead of just manually filtering is that if you want to go on to, if they add more data to this function, since it's dynamic, it will grow as well. If you add more data to this, it will grow. The data will be added to it as well. So I'll just show this with the take function, then I'm going to quickly move on to power pivots, right? So right now we have this filter function like this. So I'm going to come in between at the start of this filter function. I'm going to do take, press my tab. So the first thing take asks for is an array. You don't have to use take with filter function. I'm just using the combining the two, so we'll see. Then the next thing is how many rows do you want to return from this table? Basically, that's what it's saying. How many rows do you want to return from this 2013 table? And if I want to return 10, I can specify 10. If I want to return 20, I can specify 20. If I want to return 30, I can specify 30. But I'll just skip 3. Then I'll close my bracket. Then this returns 3. It returns 3 rows from this filter function. It returns 3 rows from this filter function. It returns 3 rows for this filter function. So you may now ask, how we this do. So one beauty of this is using this take and filter function, you can ask the question of, okay, what was our last 3 probably selling product, or what was our 3 highest products? 3 highest selling, yeah, probably 3 highest selling product, or 3 highest selling, yeah, 3 highest selling products. You can use this take function to use it. But yeah, I'll now make sort. I know I'm going a little bit too, is it technical or so. I just decided it may be useful knowledge to some. It may be very, very useful and valuable knowledge to some. If I was to do what I just stated now, I'll now add a sort by. A sort by. You don't have to replicate this. I'll add a sort by. I'll add a sort by. A sort by. And I'm going to sort this entire array. So I'm going to sort this entire array. Then I'm going to sort it by, which column do I want to sort it by? Let me remove this so I don't confuse myself. So I'm going to sort this entire array by SSLs. So I'm going to select the sales column. Then standing. No worry, you don't have to replicate this. I'm just showing what you can do as well. You don't have to replicate this. I can drop the function in the chat. So see what we have here. We have a value. I know where the error is coming from, but do I'm going to move on. Let me know. I think I'm already started to confuse a lot of people basically. So I'm going to move on. Let me just go into power pivots. But that's the use case now for take. Take, you can select the number of rows you want to select. Sort by, you can sort a table, either ascending or sorted descending. VStack is just like append, basically. VStack is like you're appending data. You're combining data on top of each other. That's how VStack works. You can read up on drop. Choose column is very easy. Filter function is very easy. Sequence, I've showed unique as well. But these are array functions in Excel. The beauty of knowing array functions is not a lot of people know this, because these functions came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and a lot of people don't use half of these functions. And what I was trying to do, if you had to use normal functions to do it, you won't be able to achieve it. But with array functions, you can play around with them to get to a desired result. But that's that on array functions. That's that on filter functions. I'm going to dive right into Power Pivot. So Power Pivot, don't worry, I've made it very, very simple. You don't need to scratch your head about Power Pivot. It's very, very, very simple to understand. And guess what? I've created a PDF document that I'm going to be sharing with us on core terms in Power Pivot, which we should know. So we're going to do something called data modeling. I've created a PDF. Let me drop it in the Discord channel. I'm going to drop the PDF in the Discord channel. So under the notes and resources, I'm going to drop the PDF now. So I'm going to drop the data set, but that'll be after this session. I'm going to drop the data set in which I'm using, but that'll be after this session. Is this? I'm trying to remember where I saved this PDF document to. So I worked on it a little bit in the night. So okay, I'll just share my screen when after the probably before or after the session I'll just find where I dropped this document to. Well, it's showing it should be in my documents. I'll just find where I dropped this document into. So right now we're going to go into Power Pivots, data modeling fundamentals, as I will term it, data modeling fundamental. But before I proceed, are we following? Are we following? Are we following? Don't worry. It depends on how much you like the array functions. I can revisit it probably another time. Who knows? But are we following with the class today? Are we following with the class? Are you following? Are you following? Are you following? Are you following? Hello?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I only heard from one person. If you are not following, talk. Talk before I go ahead.
It's Esther that is talking. You better let another person talk.
If you are not following, talk before I go ahead. If you have questions,
Actually,
probably
there are
talk.
reactions. People are reacting. I don't know, maybe your volunteers, they are shy to talk, but people are actually really reacting and all. So that's what I wanted to say, that people are reacting. So maybe that is their following. Your volunteers are shy to talk.
Right, so we need more volunteers. Is that what you're saying? You need more
Esther,
volunteers.
I
Let's
think
just go ahead. We have less than an
some
hour.
people raised their hands, so you can maybe one or two
Everybody
questions.
that their hand is raised have the mic to talk.
Okay.
Joseph, time is going. Let's just move, please.
No. Yeah, as much as time is going, so it's just important we are sure that everybody is carried along. So it's not like I'm performing magic, magic in front of
Hello, sir.
everybody. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello, sir. Morning,
Yeah.
sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the session. You are really following quite well. But my problem here is that your formula bar is like occupying almost half of your screen. Can you please reduce so that I
Okay,
can see
okay.
it clear?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry about that. Thank you. Esther, you didn't point that out. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you for this. Can you hear me? Can I go
Yeah, I
ahead?
can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I was trying to log into the section, so I could not start the class from the beginning. But while going through, I don't know if you can drag
I can't really hear you. Is it from me?
Your screen, like the data set you have now.
Sorry,
It's not nice to us.
Ayodeji, your
Can you
internet.
hear me?
No, no,
Hello?
no.
I can't hear you. You are breaking.
Can you can you hear me now?
Yes, 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 yes. I can hear you.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay, I'm saying
So
data set.
okay, what happened to
Can I
data
go ahead?
sets? Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, the data set, I think it had segment as part of the column, like the column headers segment, but I can't find it on this particular data set. I think when you drag to the left, like the last the first header here should be country. I was while you were going through this section, I was like I observed that. Well, I think there is an explanation as to why segment was not part of it. Because when I cleaned my data, I did not find that segment this thing on Power Query. I didn't find it. So when I went back to the dirty data, I was like, this segment was there. So I felt okay, maybe this is not clean enough. So I tried cleaning again. And when I cleaned again, I able to have that segment column header, the one that had government, mid-market, and the likes. I was able to have it as part of my clean data, and it actually was in that tax you gave us as an assignment. So I'm
Oh,
wondering
oh,
why it did not include that.
oh, okay. So, like I said, the data I used was what somebody just sent to me. I think the person was having issue with it. So I did check how clean the person stated it was clean, but the person stated it was clean, basically. So I didn't check that out. So let me I'll check the data as well. I cleaned it from my end before did that. I created that assignment. So I'll check the data out as well, just to be sure. But that's by the way. That by the way. So I will revisit that at the end of the session. So please just note your question down. So right now we're going to go into power pivots. But before we go into power pivots, we need to know a concept which we call hello, hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. The network is
Okay, so sorry, can you please mute your mic because I'm having difficulties here. I hope that's fine. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
so
I've
right
muted
now,
the person. Go on.
okay. So I'm going to do Control N. I'm going to create a new Excel workbook. So right now I'm going to be bringing some data into but I won't be loading it to Excel. I won't be loading into Excel. So if I'm going to be bringing some data in, but I'm going to be using the text CSV, the CSV route, not the um, normal get data from Excel. Remember, go to your data tab, click on your get data from file from text CSV. Is a CSV file that I'm going to be getting from sales by store. Click on import. When I bring the data in, I will explain why I'm doing all this. Transform data. So I'm going to add more data as well. So click on home, new source, from file, from text CSV. When I bring all the data, I will explain what each of those data sets represents. Okay, so Power BI. So advanced DAX for Power BI. So don't worry, it's Excel we are doing. don't worry about that. So I'm just getting some files which I've used for a Power BI cloud before. So we have product lookup. I'm going to do this, import it. So it's a CSV file. And I'm going to do new source from file, from text CSV. and I'm going to select food inventory. I'm going to upload the data set, though there will be a little bit modification to the data set before I upload it as well. Okay, I'm not going to upload this food inventory. In new source from file, text CSV, I'm going to upload customer lookup. Okay, I have a modified customer lookup. But I'm going to upload this one for the class. I'm going to upload this one, but when I share the data, I'll share you the modified version of it. Then I'm going to upload employee lookup. All I'm just doing is I'm bringing data into my Power Query. I'm bringing data into my Power Query. Employee lookup. Then the last thing I'm going to bring is store lookup. New source XCSV, and I'm going to bring in store lookup. I'm going to bring in all this data in on my screen. I'm going to bring them in on my screen. Well, the data has been cleaned, so I'm not going to do any transformation process. I'm not going to do any cleaning process. Right now, I'm going to do close and load, but I'm not going to be closing and loading to Excel. No. So normally when you have close and load, you have two options, close and load and close and load to. Close and load to. I'm going to select this close and load to. And when I select this close and load to, we have table, we have pivot table report, we have pivot charts, we have only collection. I'm going to do only connection, and I'm going to do something called add to the data model. Add to the data model. Add to the data model. And I'm going to click on OK. So the moment it's adding it to the data model, it's loading, yeah, we should see done once it's completed. So it's done, but who can tell me what you notice on my screen? Can you tell me what you notice on my screen, Apple?
Yes, it is not showing on the Excel sheet.
It's not showing on the Excel sheet. It's not showing on the Excel sheet, but it's loaded somewhere. We don't know where that is, basically, right? We don't know where that is, but it's not showing on the Excel sheet. Thank you very much for that observation. So right now, I'm going to be going into the file so that we see how the data look like. So this is how each of the data look like. These are sales by store. So this sales by store data, this is like a company basically. People come into their store, they purchase certain product for certain price, they buy certain amount of products, and their products, when they come into their company, they come into different stores. The company has different stores, different probably subsidiaries, different stores which sell their products. And we have the store ID. We have the transaction date. The transaction date represents when the transaction began, when the transaction started. We have the transaction time. At what point in time did the transaction take place? We have the staff ID, which provides us information of the staff. We have customer ID, in-store YN, order, line item, product, quantity, unit price. So there's one thing we need to note. There's one thing we need to note. Excel, and why a lot of people say Excel cannot be considered as a proper database is because Excel has a limitation. Excel has a limitation. And what the limitation of Excel is that Excel, you cannot add certain rows of data beyond a particular row number. That means if you press Ctrl down arrow key to the end, you have the total number of rows you have possible in Excel. This is the total number of rows you have possible in Excel. So Excel has this limitation. Excel had this limitation, and people reached out to Microsoft and were telling Microsoft, but I like Excel. I want to be adding data to Excel. But Excel has this limitation of just this amount of rows of information. But I need to keep on adding more information to Excel. I like Excel. Then Excel was used for fantastic analysis, right? When people kept on pestering, not pestering, people kept requesting for Microsoft that they need to get to be able to analyze more than these rows of information. Microsoft in 2010, in 2010, started in 2009 to be precise. They started a project called Gemini, or Gemini in a way, and that Gemini project is what now gave on to the birth of, which directly or indirectly gave on to the birth of Power BI. Directly or indirectly gave on to the birth of Power BI. But what happened with the Gemini project, you can read up a bit about it as well. Don't really have to read too much about it, but let me just give context to this. So when people requested for this information, this stuff, Microsoft in 2010 released a tool called Power Pivots. Power Pivots. People requested that they need to be analyzing large volume of data in Excel. So Microsoft now said in 2010 they decided to release a tool called Power Pivots. And when you are reading your history of Power BI started from Excel. If you check any history story of Power BI started from Excel. And that's why we sort of structured this class to follow a route so that when you're ending your Excel journey, you're prepared, you're prepped up for Power BI. Power BI job will be very, very easy and nice for you to use. So in 2010, Microsoft released Power Pivot. So how Microsoft came about Power BI, they basically combined Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View. There was something called Power View as well. It's not really used now. They combined Power Pivots, and they combined DAX. There's something called DAX. Um, these three tools, these four tools basically came to the combination. That's when Microsoft in 2015 now decided to release a tool called Microsoft Power BI in 2015. So it's important to know Power Pivots came from a problem. A problem was arrived. A problem arrived rather. A problem arrived. And the problem was that people need to keep on analyzing large volume of data. So that now introduced us to the concept of data modeling. Data modeling. Data modeling. I don't know how many of us have downloaded, you've probably downloaded a data set before. Somebody even shared me one. Somebody shared me one or had one issue before. You download a data set, you see like four spreadsheets on the data set. You now see IDs. You see all these IDs, store ID, staff ID, customer ID. Then you open another spreadsheet. Let me quickly open that. You open another spreadsheet, probably employee lookup. You have these different tables. This employee lookup has staff ID, first name, last name, position, staff date, location. It has this information as well. Then you open another spreadsheet. The other spreadsheet has product lookup information. How many of us have open spreadsheets? You just see different data. You don't even understand what the person did. Somebody had this issue recently. What the person did was the person used VLOOKUP to kind of combine the whole information into a single table. The person used VLOOKUP to combine the whole information into a single table so that the person can use pivot table to analyze your data. So Power Pivot also came from an issue that pivot table currently had. So there are two reasons why they came about Power Pivot. Number one, they needed to analyze large volume of data. The current tool couldn't analyze that large volume of data. Then pivot table couldn't connect to more than two tables at once. That was the issue. How many of us have tried that? You've tried to create a pivot table that speaks to the same data based on two or more tables at once. You will have to probably combine all the information into a single spreadsheet, right? Are we following? Are we following? Are we following?
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir, we are following.
Okay. So you have to combine the information into a single spreadsheet. So Power BI, I said Power BI, Excel now decided that you know what we will do. You know what we will do. We will create a tool that allows you to connect to more than two or more table that can also house a lot of data, can house a lot of rows of information, house a lot of rows of information. We will create a tool that can allow you to connect to two or more tables at the same time, and that's what started what we know as Power Pivot, and Power Pivot use a principle known as data modeling. Data modeling. That's what it is. So I'm going to go to the slide. There are core terms we need to know about data modeling. So I have this PDF. I'll share it with us so we can go to it. I call this the data modeling ABC. Basically, there are a lot of things you can know about data modeling, but I sort of kept the core terms, the core things you need to know about data modeling in this slides, basically. So if I click on this, so what's data modeling? Data modeling is the process of creating a visual representation of how data is structured, organized, and related within a system. It involved defining tables, relationship, and constraints to ensure data accuracy and integrity. That what data modeling is in essence is basically building relationship between two or more tables together. That's data modeling. And if I scroll down, you have data types. So the data types, when we are dealing with Power Query, you see different data types. So what is data type? Data types categorize information such as numbers, text, dates, and more. So data type does this, it categorizes information. Then tables are structured container that holds related data. So that's what tables are. So I'm just going to go into the core terms which we need to know. So relationship tables in a database often will have relationship with one another. This relationship defines how data is connected across tables. So that is what we know as relationship, and we have types of relationship. We have one to many. Some places you see many to one. um, well, you have one to many, many to one. The Power BI guys will tell you about many to one as well. We have one to one, and we have many to many, many to many relationship in data modeling, and you have something known as the primary key and the foreign key. So I'm just doing a brief rundown on the slide that I created, but we're going to go into data modeling and see how it is. So right now, I have this table of information. I want us to please look at my screen. Look at my screen, look at my screen. If you are not doing anything, so please look at my screen right now. Look at my screen right now. So we have this information: transaction ID, transaction date, transaction time, store ID, staff ID, customer ID, in-store ID, order, line item, product, quantity, unit price, promo, item, and etc. We have this information, right? So the next question you ask me, I will ask is, we have this store ID. But if I want to know what store, so this is details of a particular business, and it's telling us, oh, at this point in time, a transaction was made. It was made in this particular location by this particular customer, and by this and this is the number of products he bought. This is the quantity he bought, and this is the quantity he bought, and this is the unit price he bought them at. We have this information like this. So I'm just asking a question. So I want us to think, if I want to find out, oh, what store is this? I can see store ID. I can see store ID. What store is this particular, what store did they particularly do this information in? What store did this particular transaction take place in? The next question is, I need to have more information about this store ID. Right? I don't know. Are we following? I need to find out more information about this store ID, right? I need to find out more information about this store ID for me to know what store exactly we are talking about. Are we following? Are we following? Are we following?
Yes, we're following.
You're following, sir.
Okay, so I need to know. Thank you. I need to know what particular store this transaction took place. So that means I need to come here. For those that use VLOOKUP a lot or XLOOKUP, probably I was supplied another table. Which I was supplied another table called store lookup. Store lookup contains details about my store, right? So it gives me the store type, the store address, the store city. It gives me more information, even the managers of the store, the neighborhood that store can be located in. It gives me this information, this store table. So normally, if I had to use VLOOKUP, you do VLOOKUP here, right? Equals to VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, then populate that information on this table. That's what we normally do. And that will work. You'll be able to analyze the data like that. But the issue is, as you're adding more columns, you're adding more information to your data, you're adding more rows of information to your spreadsheet. And if you remember, Excel has a limit of the number of information it can carry in it. Excel has its own, has the number of limit of information that you can carry in it. There's the number of rows Excel can take, and there's also the number of columns Excel can take. So Excel can take a particular number of rows and particular number of columns. So the columns are not infinite as well. The rows are not infinite. So the more you keep on doing that, you keep on adding more information. Remember, this is a daily transaction. This is a transaction table that contains daily records. Every single day, this table will grow. Every single day, this table will grow. This table will grow. So in the sense, this will now lead me to two terms which we use very, very much in data modeling. We have something called normalization, normalization, and we have denormalization. I explained it in this PDF as well. I explained it in this PDF I'm going to share. What is normalization and what is denormalization of your data set. Basically, what normalization is is basically you splitting one table, one huge big table into different tables. That's basically what normalization is. I've given you a definition which you can follow. It's the process of organizing data into separate tables to eliminate redundancy and dependency issues. So the point of it is that normalization reduces data duplication. It reduces data duplication, improves data integrity, and optimizes database performance. So that's what normalization does in essence. That's normalization. Then we have denormalization. Denormalization is like the opposite of normalization. Instead of normalization, so what denormalization is, this involves merging or combining tables that are related to each other. By doing this, you reduce the need for complex join when querying the data. So, that's denormalization. Denormalization is what we probably normally do when we are using VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP or in Power Query when you are doing merge, when you are merging columns together. So you are in essence doing like a denormalization of your data, of your data model, of your data model. So the essence of normalization is we have, instead of me coming here to this same table and typing and probably populating this same table with all this customer information, this additional customer information, why not create a separate table that will contain customer information, but that table will be related to this table by something known as a key, something known as a key, something known as a key in data modeling. And we have two types of key in data modeling. We have the primary key and the foreign key. Primary and the foreign key. Primary and foreign key. So in this same PDF, I've mentioned those as well. What's a primary key? A primary key uniquely identifies each record in a table. It ensures data integrity and prevent duplicate records. And what's a foreign key? Foreign key establish a link between tables by referencing the primary key of another table. So basically, that's what the two of them is. You have the primary key and the foreign key. The primary key, in essence, you have these IDs, all these IDs, these store IDs, this staff ID. Your primary key, in essence, when you are doing VLOOKUP, let me take it to lookup functions. That particular, like your lookup value, your lookup values, when you are doing lookup functions, your lookup value, that particular column or that particular piece of information that can uniquely identify, oh, what customer this is. That's the customer ID. Uh, where's the customer column? So let me open this customer lookup. So customer lookup. So this information can uniquely identify, oh, this customer ID, who is this customer? This customer ID. And we have the customer ID here. This is the customer ID. Yeah, so this customer ID represents who bought this particular product. Kelly. That's the person that bought this particular product. So in data modeling, like I said, in essence, it's like building relationship between two or more tables together. That's what data modeling is. But I'm just explaining the core terms. Core terms so that we will know. Before, the whole process is very, very easy. It's just linking. It's just linking. But if you don't understand the technicality beyond it, you'll get confused as why you need to model, when you need to model, and stuff like that. Even till today, some people have some issues with modeling. Some people have some issues with modeling. And when we are talking of data modeling, we normally deal with certain tables. There are three basic tables we have when we are talking of data modeling. We have the fact table, we have the fact table, we have the dimension table, and we have something called the bridge table. The bridge table, well, this is more complex, is a more complex table for when you want to handle stuff like many-to-many relationship. But don't worry, I'm talking about primarily the fact table and the dimension table. And in this PDF, again, I'm always going to this PDF. Let this PDF be like your guide. I created it so that we can easily use. I'll drop it in the notes and resources as well. So let it be like your guide, right? So I define each of these table. Your fact table typically store events that happen in a specific point in time that can be measured. A fact table contains values you want to aggregate. A fact table what contains values you want to aggregate. So basically your fact table is like your fact table grows every single day. This sales by store table, somebody will come to this store again. Yes or yes. Somebody will come to this store again to purchase something. And when the person purchases something, this table grows. This table grows. And your fact table, if you remember, when in this definition, your fact table typically store events that happened in a specific point in time that can be measured. And your fact table normally contains things you can aggregate, a date column, and IDs. Your fact table contains what? It normally contains things to aggregate, date column, a date column, or a date ID. It could be anyone, and you have your IDs. Your fact table essentially comprises of these three things. So if you remember, when I was even showing us pivot table, I mentioned something, grouping data into quantity related to your category, quantity related to your category. And your fact table basically contains a lot of your quantity fields, your quantitative fields. Your quantitative fields is the table that contains things you want to aggregate. It contains a date column or a date ID, and it contains IDs column, IDs column. While your dimension table, what's your dimension table? It is useful to slice facts. So your dimension table is just like your categorical table. They tell more about the fact. When I want to find out what store this what store did this transaction take place, I have to look at what my store lookup table. I have to look at my store lookup table. So in essence, this my store lookup table is describing more about this transaction that has happened here. So what your dimension table do is they basically slice and dice your fact table. They let me go back to the PDF so we see my explanation there. Typically, dimensions are your product, your customer, your time, and your categories. So typically, your dimensions are your product, your customer, your time, and category. We've not done anything yet. I'm just explaining certain terms. We've not done anything technical yet, but it's important. The moment you know these terms, like I said, all we just be doing is linking. You are not doing anything more than that. You are just linking. Yeah, they are just linking. You are not doing anything more than that. So back to this. So your dimension table basically tells more about your fact. They give us more context into your fact, like your product lookup table, your customer table, your date table. You have to have a date table, and you have your date table. We have your employee table, and store lookup table, So the general idea is your fact table contains things you want to aggregate, your dates column and your IDs. Your dimension table contains this, your product lookup table, your customer table, your date table, your employee, and your store lookup table. That's what your dimension table contains. Basically, your dimension table contains this. So if you want to find out more information about your product, remember on this fact table, Your fact table is what grows every single day. Somebody will come to your business and they'll purchase new product and it grows every single day. They will impute the transaction ID, they will impute a time, they will impute the store that the product was bought in. That's the store ID, the staff ID, the customer ID, who was the customer, they will impute all these other details. But if you want to now find out more information, okay, what product was bought? What product was bought? You have to look, oh, this is the product ID. Let me check the product lookup table for what represent this product ID. And when I see, oh, the product that they bought was organic beans, I'll just say, oh, the product they bought was organic beans. So I know that information. Okay, organic beans was the product that they bought. So your dimension tables basically tell you more information about your fact table. We have these bridge tables. I won't be touching these bridge tables now. I won't be touching it at all, don't worry. But that's basically it. That's basically it. So right now I've explained the core terms. All I just need to do is what? Drag. It's just drag. It's nothing more than just drag, linking things together. But the moment you understand the core terms, you can do anything basically. The knowledge is very, very useful. So you have fact table, dimension table, and your primary key is what uniquely identifies these values on the table, and you link your primary key to your foreign key. So I'll just be showing how this works now. I've explained the terms. Time to dive right in. This is the queries and connection. The queries and connection. Since I've not done anything yet, I was just explaining things so you understand how we do it. All I'm going to be doing now is linking. I'm just going to be linking things together. But I needed to explain how certain things are before we go ahead to link. So I'm going to go to Power Pivot. Power Pivot. In the beginning of the training, I showed us how we can get this Power Pivot feature on my screen. Then click on Power Pivot, go to something called Manage. So you have the Power Query Pivots window open. Click on Manage. The moment you've clicked on Manage, you can take a peek at the data. So this is where the data is. This is where the data is actually. It's not in Excel. Just to point it out, this is not Excel. It's not in Excel. This Power Pivot, a tool that works with Excel. I'll come to this Home tab, and I'm going to click on Diagram View. So I'm going to switch from, this is the Power Pivot interface. You have from database. We have a lot of things here. I'm just going to switch to Diagram View. Diagram View right now. So sales by store. Sales by store is the fact table. When I say fact table normally contains your ID, it contains things you want to aggregate, and it basically contains your IDs and things you want to aggregate. Basically, that's what your fact table contains. While your dimension table provides more information about those facts. They tell you more information about the fact. Oh, okay, a customer bought a product. Okay, what's the name of that customer? What's the birth date of that customer? What year was the person born? What gender was it born? And this information, you can now use this information to do more analysis into your data. So right now, once you've understood what a data model is, what your fact table is, what your dimension table are, you can now go ahead to do your linking. All I'm just going to be doing is drag and drop linking. I'm going to link product ID to product ID. Product ID to product ID. I'm going to link product ID to product ID. Customer ID. You link it. Remember, we said primary key and foreign key. The PDF will explain what each and every one of these keys are in case if you need to reiterate primary key and foreign key. You have that. Then employee ID, I'll link the staff ID to the sales by store ID. Then this structure which we have here, right here, is something known as the star schema. Star schema. So this star schema type of relationship in Power Pivot. So we have the star schema. So what this basically states is, and if you see the relationship direction, this means one to many. One record in this table, in this product table, that means one product ID could have made multiple transactions in this sales by store table. The same thing, one record in this staff ID table, that means one staff could have been responsible for the sales of multiple products in this sales by store table. One customer in this customer table could have been responsible for multiple sales by store table. So you have your fact table. This is your fact table. Then you have your dimension table linking to your fact table. And that's when you have something called a star schema type of data model. A star schema type of data model. In the slide which I'll share, there's the explanation of star schema, normalization. We have snowflake schema as well. It's there. I will share that PDF as well. The moment you've linked this table, remember data modeling is the process of linking two or more tables to one another based on a relationship. And you link your primary key with your foreign key. The primary key is what uniquely identify a column on a particular table, while your foreign key is what points to the direction that needs to be filtered on a particular table. So once you've identified your primary and your foreign key, you can link them together, and you have a type of relationship which you have there. This current relationship is called one-to-many. You can have, there's one-to-one. What one-to-one means is one record on a particular table is related to one record on another table. Don't worry, the Power BI guys will probably do more justice to this as well. But I'm just giving us strong foundation. So when we begin Power BI, it's a lot easier for us. The same thing for this store lookup table. I'll just link this store ID to this store ID. The moment I've done this, I'm done building my data model. And this is a normalized model because we have different tables linking to one another. The moment I've done this, everything else is easy. I can now go to home. So now that I've built this relationship, I want to analyze this data. I can click on home and click on pivot table and click on pivot table. I can even insert a pivot chart as well, but I'll just start with pivot table. Pivot table. I want it to be in a new worksheet, that's fine. And I have the data, I have the pivot table created for me. So now, if I want to see how much let me go to that customer lookup table. How much product did this person sell? Who is customer 5465? I'll just Control C. How much did this customer sell? Let me go to the customer lookup table. So I'll find out the person's name. Control F, Control V. The person's name is Octavia. How much did Octavia sell? I want to find out how much did Octavia sell. I will go to this table. Select customer first name, and I can go to this sales by store and select quantity sold. Quantity sold. Quantity
Hi,
sold.
Joseph.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry to cut you short. To be very, very observant of the time, like we have less than 10 minutes left. So we were suggesting if you can just start pivot table tomorrow so that when they're watching the recording, it will be like a straightforward thing since we've concluded on data modeling right now. So we can start pivot table and pivot chart tomorrow.
Okay. So that's fine. That's fine. We can resume that tomorrow. Okay, but
So because
before
I
we
believe there
go,
will be a lot of
they have
questions
questions. Yeah,
and all.
they have questions. Yeah, it's fine. So questions.
Please, if you have question, can you raise your hand?
Okay,
Ask your question
good
now.
afternoon, Mr. Good
Yeah, good
morning,
afternoon.
Mr. Joseph.
Good morning.
Okay, please, I have a question on the filter function that we use. Maybe because you tried it so many times that I didn't really get to understand how the command worked. I've been trying it since then, but I will appreciate if you can retake that again.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. So back to this. I'll use a shorter example. I can use that long example, but it still works with a shorter example. So back to this, right? These are names. Right? I'll just add some more. Fade root 60 25. Oh, sorry. 2021. So I'm going to delete this. So right now, now, if I asked you the question, okay, you want to see only the people in 2014, how they did. How you normally do it is, I can highlight these top rows and press Ctrl Shift L, right? And probably you select a filter for 2014. That's how you normally do. If I asked you, oh, what score did people in 2014 get? You will do this, right? But the issue
Yes,
about
right.
doing this is if I later came here and I probably added another one, maybe for roots or so, and I give this 25 and I call this 2019. I call this 2019. If I will now have to come here again and select that filter, right? I'll come here again and select that filter for 2014 for it to apply. Are you following?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you.
So right now I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut it. I'll not let it to be part of my data. Okay. I'll just cut it here. So with the filter function, right now I'm just going to do equals to filter. And I'm going to select this entire array. This array, I'm going to select this array. I'm going to include this last one because I want to add something to it. So I'm going to select this entire array. The first thing filter asks you for is an array. And if you remember, since going back to the session and going back to the earlier class, I mentioned an array contains like your list of values. Could also be a table reference as well. An array like list of values, list of names, list of things you want to select. That's what an array is. Then the next argument is include. Okay, once you selected this entire array, what do you want to leave? You want to filter, remember, you want to filter this array, you want to filter it. What do you want to leave? You will now go to the column, the particular column you are interested in leaving. Control Shift down, you make sure they are the same size so you don't get weird results. Make sure they are the same size. D4 to D10, that's the column I want to filter, right? That's the column I want to include. And I'll do equals to equals to, and I'm going to specify the cell that I want to reference. This cell. I want to specify this cell, and I can close my bracket, then hit enter. So with this, it filtered the entire result to include only things that are for 2014. Only things that are for 2014. Now watch what will happen right now. I'm going to cut this, come here, paste it here, and I'm going to type 2014 here, 2014. Have you seen how it's populated to the filter?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So more questions, more questions, more questions.
Hello, Joseph.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he talked about going back to the Power Query when I told you I had an issue on transpose that it was not coming up.
Okay, transpose wasn't coming up. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so
kept on loading.
it kept on loading. Okay, so Power Query, there's something that you guys need to know about Power Query. When you are using Power Query, number one, you can't. When you are using Power Query with Excel, you can't use Excel. When you are using Power Query with Excel, you have to close your Power Query before you can use Excel. The second thing you need to note is um, Power Query to some extent, depending on your system RAM, system RAM, that's your read access memory, your system capability, and all. To some extent, it could, if your system is not exactly that strong, it could have some latency issue. That means it could have some, not maybe latency is not the right word, but it could have some rolling issues basically, because it requires a lot of system strength. It requires a lot of system strength. So that's one thing you need to know. So in your issue of it's just rolling, did you say it was just rolling, or what was the issue?
Yeah, yes, it kept on loading. It was not updating. And it's showing on the source that transpose is already done, but it's not showing on the table that you've transposed. It's just showing on whatever you've done that transpose, like where we tick what you've done. It's showing there that it's transposed, but it's not showing on the table that transpose has been done.
Okay, so not to drag this class too much, you can just send me, I think you sent me a message again. You can just send it with this data in question, so I'll just look into it. Thank you.